our Monday morning call. This, as a reminder, is a great time if you got questions or concerns, things going well, things going poorly, to share them. If you bring it up, I guarantee you other people will be able, thinking the same thing or have the same questions. So now would be a great time. So before we get started today is a tape review day. So we'll be going through a tape talking about a little bit about the will and a lot about the power of attorney. I want to show you how, if you get it mostly right, it still works, but we're going to talk about getting on people's side and getting the client to tell us some things instead of us telling them. So before we get started, I've got a little thing that I want to show you. And again, go ahead and type in your questions or concerns or things gone well or poorly as we do this. So put together a letter for you about the, there's been a lot of tax changes because of the fiscal cliff bill or whatever you want to call it here that happened the 1st of January. So I'm sure your clients have questions or concerns about that. So I put together a little summary of what happened with the tax law change, and you can get that at support@5qgroup.com, and just put in the subject matter fiscal cliff letter, and we'll email that off to you so you can send it to your clients. But it's a great way to, if you and you know, I would not only send it to my clients, I'd send it to my prospects. It's a great way to get in front of them. And as you all know, the TRIP software will be out here within a week, so it's also a great time that if they come in to look at this for you to be able to do a TRIP presentation for your clients or prospects as well. So if you need that, just go ahead and email support@5qgroup.com with fiscal cliff letter in the subject line. So I'm going to go ahead and go. So any questions on that or anything else before we get going? Okay. Okay, so the subject here is get it mostly right and it works. So I'm going to do a tape review, again, of a gentleman doing his second meeting with the 5Q system. And it's right at the end of the will part, and then he'll be rolling into power of attorney. So I want you to be listening for things that he's doing well, things that he's doing poorly, and then also is he getting on people's side when they say things, and also is he saying things that the client instead should be saying. And again, why is it so important that the client says these things at the second meeting, at the disclosure meeting? Why does the client have to say everything, all of our points at the second meeting, guys? Let's see what we get here. Why do they have to say the things? Because who do they believe? Who do they believe? Well, we got some quiet guys today. Themselves. They only believe themselves. Okay? So we can't say anything. So, Missy, are we seeing that? Muted.
Yep, I'm seeing that.
Okay, good. So you can see my. All right.
Please. Yep.
Okay. So, guys, you're gonna have to come in here, Missy, and show me how to erase the board again. So as we go through the tape, I'm going to be writing some things here on the screen to instead of having to interrupt the tape all the time, so we can kind of have a ongoing critique of the tape as we go through the tape. So just watch on the board or on your screen what I'm saying. Oh, isn't there one here too that I can do? Top one. Okay, got it. Okay. So here we go. First of all, I'm going to start the tape and make sure you guys can hear it. So here we go.
This way you want it or not, but if we're going to talk about it, I wonder if I should do this now or later. I'll just do it now.
Okay, can you guys hear that? Can I get some yeses on that?
Yep.
Okay, good. So here we go. So remember, this is the end of the will, and then you'll be going into the power of attorney.
In other words, it goes to, you've got 3 kids here.
Mm-hmm.
These are your children. I'm going to go through this in a bit here later. If you have the one that's adopted, or the one that's a stepchild,
and that stepchild has married somebody with a child, so this is really.
Okay. So is this stepchild, is that your child's child?
No.
Okay. And have they adopted it?
Volume.
No. Okay. So what will happen on your will, the way you have it written, is that money will only go to your children's blood children, or if they've legally adopted those stepchildren. Otherwise, those stepchildren get 0. Okay.
Okay. Well, I think that's probably the way it should be left, because
That's what I wanted to make sure of.
they have all these other, you know, when you start doing this, you got more grandparents and more grandparents.
Okay. And that's what it should be. And I just want to make sure they may explain that to you.
Okay, so what he did here is he told them the problem with the will. So should we actually tell them exactly what the problem is with the will or anything else, guys? At the disclosure meeting, should we be telling them what the problem is that they have? No. Okay, Michael and Casey, right. Why? Why not? Because now what can they do? Yep, again, everybody understands. And no, you don't do that, because if you tell them what the problem is, now they can fix it, Casey. You're exactly right. So now they know. Or what did she just say? She said, oh, it wasn't a problem anyways. That's exactly how we wanted it. So you want to tell them there is a problem, don't you? You just don't want to tell them exactly what the problem is. If you tell them what the problem is, either number one, they're going to fight you like this lady did. Say, oh, no, that's exactly how we wanted it set up. We wanted to disinherit our grandchildren. Now, how many grandparents want to disinherit their grandchildren? None. So why did she say that they wanted to disinherit the grandchildren? So when he's pointed out the problem was that they're disappointing, defensive, exactly. She's being defensive because she doesn't want to look stupid. So she's going to say, yeah, that's exactly how. So you do not tell them the problem. You tell them a problem exists, and then more importantly, after you tell them the problem exists, what's the biggest thing or two biggest things you want to do after that then? First one is consequence. There's a consequence to that, right? And then you want to get into what? Motive. Motive. So I've lost audio with you. Did everybody lose audio? One person lost audio. Has everybody else lost audio? Or can you still hear me?
I think he actually disconnected from the webinar portion. So.
Oh, he disconnected. Okay.
Yep.
So there's a reason for him losing audio. Okay, super. Thanks. So you'll just have to redial in whoever that is, or I guess you can't hear me. But so we want to tell them a problem exists. Then we want to tell them there's a consequence to that, and then we want them to understand the motive. And when I say tell them, do we want to tell them or do we want them to tell us? They must tell us those things. Okay. So now he's going to get into the power of attorney.
Okay. This is on you, Don. Barb, you are the personal representative or the executive of the state. If something happened to you or when you couldn't do it, take care of the will upon passing, then your son, Don, of Kearney, and daughters Julie of Wood River, and Jennifer of North Platte shall be appointed as successor co-personal representatives of the last will and testament. Okay?
Yeah, that was the question I was asking you about, and that was something we had changed. And you know, after you think about it a while, you think, was this the right thing to do or not? What's this? These are the old ones.
This is what basically that. You wrote your original will in 1987, and you made a codicil.
Yeah.
A change in 1999. What's in here?
That's just one of them is yours, one of them is mine.
I'm going to skip ahead, guys, and get into the power of attorney because he's already kind of muffed the will here. So here we go.
People will argue with me on that, but we have had, I work with 150 guys and gals across the country. Every Monday morning we're on conference calls, and this is something that's come up as of last, when things are more than 5 years old. They basically said, well, that thing's old enough. We don't know if that was actually their wishes or not. So you need to go back to the court and have them.
So what did he do just again, guys? He said, well, I belong to a group of about 150 guys across the country, and we have these Monday morning phone calls. He told them, well, he told them is one thing, Bill, but he gave them the answers, Dale. Exactly right. He gave them the answers. So now they know, oh, if my documents are over 5 years old, I have to go back and get them renotarized. So now she knows the problem, so does she need him? No. She can go back and do all these things themselves. So you're exactly right.
Anytime you go to the court, what, is that a fun process?
No.
Is it free?
No.
So that's why we say that. Okay.
You go to the court or
Well, in that case, you would go to the courthouse.
the courthouse itself?
If somebody challenged the will and said that, well, it's too old, that kind of thing, that's what will happen. Or you might end up going to an attorney, too, but in any case,
It's going to be expensive, whichever way.
so I would say, hey, put a new notary on there. The next thing I wanted to talk about here is durable powers of attorney. And you guys do have a financial power of attorney that I read.
Yeah, that, as I said, that was done by a banker who was a notary. He's essentially retired, but he was a notary.
Can I take a quick peek at that again?
Sure. And
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay.
So they're shuffling for the power of attorney here.
But first of all, I remember reading through this, looking through it. It's good you guys have done this. As mentioned earlier, how many people actually get this done? Very few people. So the fact that you've already got it done is good. And instead of banking, do you charge to do it?
no,
Well, that's all I said. I was just going to say sometimes it costs money to get these darn things
no,
done.
I didn't.
No,
He
you
said,
didn't.
well, we probably
So what did he just do there that was very good, guys? What did he do there that was very good? He said, did he charge her for this? And she said what? Got on her side, exactly, Dale. And now, before this point, would you say this lady sounds friendly or less than friendly, maybe businesslike? Until this point, what is her attitude or personality been? Defensive, yep, less than friendly, etc. But as soon as he got on her side, what happened to her? Do you see how a little honey, what a little honey does to people? So as soon as he gets on her side, she's all excited about that. That's the power of getting on people's sides. She went from being defensive and businesslike and very less than friendly to very friendly quickly. So good job picking that up.
I need this. I need his also friend.
Yeah.
And he says, we'll just do it.
When you guys set this up, what are some reasons that people set up powers of attorney, specifically for financial speech? Why do they put them together? So there's no bickering.
Well, in case of illness, too, and that type of thing.
I mean, yeah, exactly. If I walk out of this office today and I get hit by a bus, get killed, they've done everything. They put me in the ground now. Once I'm in the ground, does my family really need a power of attorney for me at that point?
Probably. Everything's so legal.
But once I'm dead and gone and buried,
What do you do right there, guys? What do you do right there? So he said, you know, if I get hit by a bus and they put me, my family puts me in the ground and I'm dead and buried, do I need a power of attorney? And she said what? She said, yeah. And what did he say? The worst word you can ever say, what is the worst word you can ever say to a client? Yeah, but. Good job, Dale. You're hot today. Yes, but. Do never say yes, but. Because what does yes, but say? Yes, but says you're wrong, Michael. You're exactly right. You cannot say yes, but. You want to get on there. So how do you handle that if she gives you the wrong answer? Well, you can't tell her that that's right, but do you necessarily have to tell her that she's wrong? So if they say, if you say, do I need a power of attorney? And she says, or would the power of attorney work here? And she says, yes, it would. We all know it wouldn't work there. Say, so yeah, because if you think about it, here I am. I'm not able to function, so we need some sort of paperwork, don't we? We need some sort of legal document. Now, of course, I'm still alive, so I'm not dead, so we wouldn't need the will. I'm sorry. So now I'm getting confused. So I'm dead now, so we wouldn't need the power of attorney. We'd need what? Because if I'm living, I need the power of attorney. If I'm dead, I need what? Well, then you need the will. So, but does that sound like, yeah, circle back, Fred, exactly. I'm circling back. So I basically get on their side about needing legal documents, about yes, she's right, but then I'm going to clarify that she's not right, but it feels a lot differently than me saying yes, but. Yeah, seems like it wouldn't. Seems like it would work, wouldn't it? Yeah. So you guys come up with some great things to say to her. Exactly. That's what you want to do. You don't want to say, no, that's not right, or yeah, but, or whatever. So don't do that. Also, is he painting a picture in Technicolor here? Is she going to feel? In order for for this to work, she needs to feel emotion, right? Because people buy emotionally, or do they buy intellectually? They buy emotionally. So yes, he's doing it very factual. He's missing the color, Eric. Exactly right. So with this whole power of attorney story about getting hit by a bus, is he just giving the facts, ma'am, or is he painting a Technicolor picture? You got to do a Technicolor picture so that she can get emotionally involved, because people buy emotionally. You're right, Bill. Not detailed enough, and the detail is what makes this from a outline to an actual little movie going on in their head, and we want that movie. Because this needs to be emotional in order for them to think, oh, gosh, I'm really missing something important here. So here we go.
Well, if I'm dead and gone, what will I go to? It goes through my what?
So you will.
Well, I will, for when I'm dead.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm dead, I really don't need a power of attorney. When I die, what?
Do you see what that yes but has done to her personality again? She's back into what? She's pulled back into her what? Pulled back into her shell, hasn't she? So now she's gotten back to being defensive again. Exactly right, guys. So he was going in the right direction, and then immediately, do you see, guys, how no matter how many times you get somebody feeling good, that yes but can really just erase everything you've done up to that point. So be very careful. And what's the only way you're going to know if you're doing that, guys? What's the only way you're going to know that you're doing yes buts? There's only one way for sure you know that you're doing it. How is that? Tape, 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 tape. Exactly.
Takes precedence.
The will.
The will does.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I walk out of the office here today and I get lucky and jump out of the way of the bus, I just break my leg, but I'm still able to go to work. I'm still mentally competent and all these kinds of things. I can still do my job. I make decisions for myself. Does my family really need a power of attorney for me when I can do all of those things?
Well, probably not at that time.
So if it's not when I can think for myself and it's not when I'm dead, where does the power of attorney really come into play? When what? When
you can't think for yourself.
Exactly. When I'm incapacitated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's what it's for. I mean,
so he asked an open-ended question there, and she did give him the right answer. But up to that point, was he asking open-ended questions, or was every question he asked closed-ended? And when I say closed-ended, it means you ask a question that can be answered how? Yeah, you're right, Bill. They were all closed-end. Yes or no. So all of these questions up to this point were yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. But this lady is no dummy. She's pretty smart, so she's been tracking with him. But you know what? Who have we not heard from? The husband. Do you think it's important to get him involved or not? Yeah, we have to, because we don't even know where he stands right now. Never allow one of the people to be quiet, because if they're quiet, they may very well be the one that once they leave the office and get in the car say what? We're not doing this. But it's obvious that she's the boss on a public level. That doesn't mean that she's a boss in real life. She may very well be. But we're going to have to get him participating. Exactly. Eric says, why am I there if he's not participating? Exactly right. And we need to know where he stands. Exactly right, guys. So here we go.
Well, I don't know if you're like me or not. When do you think people need to get their hands on their money the most? When things are just singing along, going great, everything's flowers and roses, or when things start to...
So again, how much of a picture did he paint with the how stressful it can be for a spouse when they need to use the power of attorney? Very little. Exactly right, Bill. We need to paint that picture of what? That spouse sweating bullets. The one spouse being incapacitated and the spouse at home sweating bullets because the bills are still coming in, and there still have to be decisions made, and there's real estate decisions that have to be made, and there's this that have to be made, and they can't do it, and world doesn't stop when one person becomes incapacitated. And boy, how would that spouse feel if she couldn't make those decisions? So you need to make it. And now, of course, they have a power of attorney, right? So why am I pointing out that, hey, or why would I want her to understand or them to understand in Technicolor what would happen if they didn't have a power of attorney? Because they have one. So why do I have to worry about it? Why do I have to paint this beautiful picture or this horrible picture of what will happen if they don't have a power of attorney, if they do have a power of attorney? Because they have a power of attorney. So why do I still need to paint this horrible picture of what can happen if they don't have a power of attorney? Because what am I going to show, guys? Yes, we're going to show that it's either out of date, Dale, or that there's other things that are wrong with it. Again, we're not going to show them at this meeting because we're not going to tell them exactly what's wrong, but we're going to say, hey, that's what concerns me. Your power of attorney is not working. So at this point, we know that people make emotional decisions. But have they felt emotionally how horrible it can be not to have a power of attorney, or do they know just on an intellectual, have agreed just on an intellectual basis that it's good to have a power of attorney? Yeah, it's just on an intellectual basis. That's not enough. You need to get them emotionally involved, and the way you do that is with a Technicolor little movie going on in their head. So here we go. Now he's going into the fact that the power of attorney works. The reason we have a power of attorney is for when things are not going well. Okay? So let's see how he does there.
To fall apart. To fall apart, exactly. So if I were to ask you guys on this power of attorney thing, if I were to give you a choice between, I don't know, $1 million account or a $500,000 account, which one do you think you'd pick?
Probably the million if we're not stupid.
Okay. But if I added to it, it's $1 million account, you can't get your hands on it when you most need it. With a $500,000 account, you can get your hands on it whenever necessary. Good times, bad times, whenever. Then which account do you think you pick?
Well, probably the half. I don't know.
So what do you think's going on? What do you think? This is a major pet peeve I have with us as advisors. What do you think? What's going wrong here, guys? She sounds aggravated. Not set up well. What do you mean by that, Bill? Not set up well. And you're right, Dale. She sounds agitated. And guess why she sounds aggravated and agitated? Guys, we do this every single day. So how simple does this stuff seem to us? It seems totally simple. He asked 2 questions where I would have asked how many questions? He asked 2 questions where I would have asked 10, Casey, right? He's assuming they know where he's going. They don't know where he's going. So even this lady, who's a pretty sharp character, is getting lost. And that's why she's getting aggravated and agitated. So Jeff, can you get unmuted there?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you
So
hear me?
let me. I'm going to go through. You're the client, and I'm the advisor. And guys, count how many questions I go through to go through just this portion about the money. Okay. So I want you guys to count how many questions I go through. So Jeff, you know, when it comes to advisors, what's our job to do for you when it comes to your money?
Well, to give us advice and help us grow our accounts.
To grow your accounts, right? So we're looking to get the highest rate of what?
Highest rate of return.
Right. So let's say I was a fantastic advisor, and you gave me $10,000, and I was able to grow it to $100,000. Would you like that?
Yeah, I think that would be awesome.
Now, I wish I could do that for you. I can't, but if I could, would you want that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. What if I could only, as an advisor, I only grew your $10,000 to $50,000 next year? How would you feel about that?
Well, that'd still be pretty good.
Yeah, it'd still be pretty good. I mean, but which is better?
Well, the 100,000 is better.
Yeah, and why would it be better?
It's more money. I mean, it's just growing better. It's doing
Duh.
more.
So if you had to grade me on a curve, which financial advisor would be better? The one that grew it to 50 or the one that grew it to 100?
The one that grew it to 100.
Yeah, duh, right? But let's put a little caveat on this. Let's say that when I grew it to 100, you could get that money anytime you needed it, anytime you wanted it, except when you needed it. So if things were going poorly, you couldn't get at it. If things were going great, then you could get at it. If things going poorly, could never get at it. Do you want your $100,000? Do you want the $100,000 now?
I'm a little worried that I might not be able to get it when I need it.
Right. And what if with the $50,000 account you get that anytime you want it? How would you like that?
That would be better.
So which one would you rather have then, the 100,000 or the 50,000?
Well, in that case, I'd probably go with the 50.
But why? You just told me here 2 minutes ago that you would rather take the $100,000 account.
Yeah, but it's not any good if you can't get it.
Ah, so return is important, isn't it?
Yep.
But what's way more important?
Well, being able to get to it, being able to spend it if you need it.
Right. So as an advisor, I'd better be looking at getting you the highest rate of return possible, right? But I'd also
Right.
better be what?
Well, making sure that we have access to it as well.
Yeah, especially when things are going well or things are going what?
Well, when things are going poorly.
Yeah, because when things are going well, we don't need the money. But when things are going poorly, that's when we what?
Well, then we need it.
Yeah. So what would you think about me as an advisor if, you know, because first of all, don't all of advisors, I mean, we all know that our job is to get you the highest rate of return.
Right.
Can we agree? Yeah. But how would you think of me as an advisor if, you know, I got you a great rate of return, but then when you needed the money, I said, oh, I'm sorry, you can't get at that money. What do you think
Yeah,
about me as an advisor?
I wouldn't be happy with you.
No. So I could get you the best rate of return in the world, but if I wasn't paying attention to making sure you get that money when you needed it most, I would be what kind of an advisor?
Not a good one.
Not a good one. So guys, how many questions did I ask? 21 I got. We got 21 out of a ton. Okay, so now I'm going to take it back just a few seconds here, and let's watch how many questions this gentleman asked. Now, first of all, why did I ask 21 questions? Is there any doubt in my mind that Jeff gets the point? Is there any doubt in my mind that Jeff gets the point? No, I mean, it'd be impossible for Jeff not to get the point, because he told me the point 3 or 4 times, and the reason he told me the point 3 or 4 times is because I led up to it with baby steps, tiny little questions to finally get to the point where he understood the whole thing. But but most advisors, and this is the way I used to be, I'm like, they get it. Hey, Jeff, now let me do it a different way. So, Jeff, you still on the line?
Yep, I'm here.
So, Jeff, let me ask you a question. If I had 2 accounts, one grew to 100,000, one grew to 50,000, which would you want?
I'd want the 100,000.
Yeah, the 100,000. But let's say this. Let's say you couldn't get the 100,000 when you needed it, but you could get the 50,000 when you didn't need it. Now, which one do you want?
Well, I guess in that case, I guess I would probably go for the 50.
I did what this guy said, almost to a T, and Jeff did what she did, almost to a T, because it's going way too fast. They're struggling to figure out what the hell is going on. Do I ever want them to be struggling to figure out what the heck is going on? Yeah, Eric is saying that the advisor wants to cut to the chase, but because it's efficient for us, but in long term, it's not efficient. It's very ineffective for our potential clients. So I take baby steps. When you jump like that, do you see how it would be very easy to lose the client? And we're losing this lady who's sharp. Guess where the husband is at this point? He's checked out. He's not even paying attention. He is in la-la land. So you got to go slow. You got to ask little tiny questions. Take baby steps so that they know. And again, it's almost like taking 2 steps forward, then a step back, 2 steps forward, and a step back, 2 steps forward, and a step back to make sure they get it. Because you don't want to do. If I go all the way to the end of this and Jeff doesn't get it, what do I have to do at that point? I have to go back. And if I have to go back, do I know how far I need to go back? No, because I don't know when I lost him. And let's say I lost him 5 minutes ago, but I don't know that I lost him 5 minutes ago. If I only go back 1 minute, does that help? No. If I go back 2 minutes, does that help? No. But if I go back 10 minutes because I don't know where I lost him, now they're going to be irritated because I'm repeating some of the same stuff over and over. You'll notice, do more than 10 or at most 15 seconds go by before I ask a question. No, I never want to be more than 15, I never want Jeff to be more than 15 seconds behind me. I never want my client to be more than 15 seconds behind me so that I know that they're following along. Because you don't want to get to the end and they're scratching their head saying, I don't get what's going on. And guess how they scratch their heads? Do they ever say, I don't get what's going on? Or they get what? What did this lady get? Agitated. We don't want them to. Sometimes you're right, Bill. Sometimes they get quiet or they get agitated. Either one is not good. Fatigued, I'd also go along with that, Eric. Exactly right. So watch how he's making these big leaps and bounds about these points.
Yeah, I mean, if you
can't use it, what good is it?
that's what I was just going to say. I mean, if you can't get your hands on it, what's that going to do for you, right? And that's why I want to bring this up. Guys, the reason I use that as an example is, you know, it's nice to have $1 million. That'd be nice, right?
Sure.
And we all want to make a ton of money. And you want to see growth, rates of return. Rate of return is important, isn't it? But guys, if I...
Again, we're back to asking what kind of questions, guys. Open-ended or closed-ended? Closed. He's asking yes, no questions. Do I know what's going through her head if she says yes? Or if she says no? I don't know what's going through her head. Now, again, this gal's pretty sharp. So I'm assuming that when I ask a question and she says yes, that she's with me. Should I ever assume something like that with a client? Because I could assume, and I might be right, and then all of a sudden I might start to be wrong, and then I'll not know when I lost her again. Try not to ask closed-ended questions. Ask open-ended questions.
I sat here today and just talked to you about the rate of return of things, investments, and that sort of thing, without making sure that you could get your hands on the money when you most needed it, and making sure that that was done perfectly. Would I really be doing my job, do you think?
Absolutely not.
And that's what concerns me. In looking at things, you do have a power of attorney.
Okay, so he said, did he really go through it to a point where he knows that both of them got it in an emotional way? And again, she's pretty sharp, so she did follow along. That's where, remember, I said, let me, if I can get back here to, remember where is it? There it is. Getting it mostly right, and it still works. I'm poking holes all over this. He went 100 miles an hour, not asking enough questions. He's asking closed-ended questions instead of open-ended questions. And did it still work? Yeah, it still worked. He asked an essay question at the end, and she got it. But should we rely on that? No, never. Don't rely on that. Because first of all, it worked for her. We don't know where hubby is at this point. Exactly. Everybody's saying him, him, him. Yeah, we don't know where he is right now. So just because it worked on her doesn't mean that you're going to get the deal. Because if he puts the kaput on it, you're done. So you needed to work for both of you. And also, do you remember in math class where when the math teacher went through it really quickly and you got it, and then you walked out the door, walked down to study hall, opened your math book, and then you tried to do the first problem, and what happened? If you learn something very, very quickly, how quickly do you forget it? Very, very quickly. But if the math teacher makes you walk through every tiny little step, what's the likelihood when you get to study hall you're going to know that? The slower you learn something, the longer you remember it, or the shorter you remember it. It's just like this. The faster you learn it, the faster you forget it. The slower you learn it, the longer you remember it. Okay? So, but even though he did all these things incorrectly, so far it's working. Okay, so I go back here.
Because it was written, some time ago.
Yes, it was.
Oh, I was going to get there. But because he went so quickly, she asked, or he asked, would I be doing my job if you weren't able to get your money when you needed it? And she said, no, absolutely not. But because he went through so quickly, what has she also not envisioned? Because the whole purpose of this is not to get her thinking that I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't do this. The whole purpose of that conversation is to get her to envision what? That I wouldn't be doing my job? Yeah, that he needs to, Bill says needs to be your advisor. The whole purpose of this is so that she starts to think, hey, wait a minute. You know what? My advisor didn't do that, so you know what? He's not doing his job either. How many times and how long do I have to belabor this to give her time to connect those dots? So let me do something here, guys. Got a dot here, and a dot here. So what did I just draw there, guys? Because those are the dots that he laid out for her about her advisor not being a good advisor, because all he was worrying about is because all he's worrying about is rate of return and not worried about her getting the money when they need it most. Is she even connecting those dots yet? Or is she just saying, no, you'd be a bad advisor if you didn't do that for me? She has not connected the dots about her own advisor at all. So now, now tell me what, as I put in more dots here, now what is it? What did I just draw? Okay, I'll put in more dots until you get it. What did I just draw, guys? A star. The more dots you put in there, the more they get it. And guess what all these dots are representative of? What do you think all these dots are representative of? Questions, Bill. Exactly right. They're questions. The more questions you ask, the more they'll get the big picture. And she does not get the big picture. All she is visioning now, yeah, you'd be a bad advisor if you didn't do this. Guess what she's not? She's not thinking, wait a minute. My advisor didn't do this. He's a bad advisor. Now, we never say that at the power of attorney, but does that mean we don't want her thinking that? We absolutely want her thinking that. And if you go too fast, she never gets that. You get it in your head, because that's, but if I talk to this guy right now, and I did talk to him, and said, do you think she got the fact that her advisor wasn't doing this, and therefore he was a bad advisor? Guess what he said when I asked him that? What do you think? No, he said, yeah, she does get that. So why does he think she got it? Because who got it? Who saw it crystal clear in their mind? He got it, Casey. Exactly right. He completely, Bill, exactly. So he got it crystal clear in his mind, but the only way we know that a client gets it crystal clear is if they what? Say it. Now again, we don't necessarily get them to say it at the power of attorney, but even so, that's even more important that I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that she is connecting the dots saying, oh, you know what? Yeah, you wouldn't be a very good advisor for not doing that, but wait a second. My advisor didn't do that either. You know, that's his job. He didn't look at my power of attorney. So do you get why you have to do all these little dots so they can connect them like that? Okay, so here we go.
Do they ever change laws and add things to it? What is in here will work, but there's actually some new things that this doesn't include in it, in which case, if something happened, you wouldn't be able to get your hands on money when you most needed it. Mm-hmm. Would that cause a problem, you think?
That's no problem, yeah.
Okay, so a little problem or a big problem, potentially?
Okay, so there was a word said in there that you can never allow to pass by. What was that word, guys? The man said it. What word did he use that we can never, ever, ever let pass by when we're trying to have them make a point for us? Probably. Good job, you guys. You can never let them get by with probably. Why is he using probably? He's using probably because he doesn't want to agree with you. But he doesn't want to come right out and say, no, you're not right. He wants to leave himself an out. Can we ever let people get by with probably? No, not if we want to make a point. So but we can't say, jump on them for that, can we? So then all you're going to do is say, yeah, I mean, probably. In what cases wouldn't that be the case? And then it's going to get them, no, you're right. It's all the time. We need to get them to agree all the time. Because if they say probably, they're giving themselves all sorts of outs.
Well, probably a big problem, depending on what you needed. But.
And then again, now the man said it, and what word did she just use now? Probably. So let me go back. I'm going to back it just if I can. It's not very, this kind of coarse adjustments here, but see if I can go back so you can listen to that whole little thing and watch him say probably twice. So that means he's got them on the run. If he's got them on the run, do you want your clients on the run, guys? Do you want your clients on the run? No, exactly right, Bill. Very good. Most advisors love to get the client on the run because then they're like, I'm beating the client. You don't want to beat the client. You want to be on the client's side. So here we go. Okay, I think this will work.
And making sure that was done perfectly. Would I really be doing my job, do you think?
Absolutely not.
And that's what concerns me. Looking at things, you do have a power of attorney. Because it was written, some time ago.
Yes, it was.
Do they ever change laws? And I think that what is in here will work, but there's actually some new things that this doesn't include in it, in which case, if something happened, you wouldn't be able to get your hands on money when you most needed it. Would that cause a problem, do you think?
Absolutely.
No problem. Yeah. Okay, so a little problem or a big problem, potentially?
Well, probably a big problem.
So did you hear both the probablys there? Two probablys. And you're right, he is preaching, Bill. Okay? So do you get why jumping quickly and not getting them totally involved? They're getting on the defensive here, and when they get on the defensive, that's not a good thing. So keep listening.
Depending on what you needed, but...
And so regarding that, I mean, is that something you guys want to look into to make sure we get that done right?
I think we should, yes.
Okay. And then all that is paperwork.
Yes.
But, we'd all like to make a ton of money, but like you said, what good is it, we make a ton of money if my kids or my spouse can't get their hands money when they most need it? And that's all it is. So,
again, who summarized there for her? Who did the summary? He did the summary. She has to do the summary. Before you leave a topic, they have to tell you the point of the topic, not you, and them saying, yeah, you're right. That's worthless. He has to get her to say so. So when it comes to your power of attorney, why is it so important? Well, it's important because I need my money when I need it most. Yeah, exactly. And if you think about it, what's more important, rate of return? Is the rate of return the most important thing? No, rate of return is not the most important thing. Getting my money when I need it most is the most important thing. And that's why having my power of attorney in place so I can get my money when I need it most, that's why I need that. Now, if she's saying that kind of stuff, do I know that in her mind she gets it? And it's not a fleeting get it and then walk out of the room, forget it. No, she gets it so that she's going to remember it 5 days from now. She has to do the summary. Now, the good thing is, did he, like on the will, he told her what was wrong. Did he tell her what was wrong on the power of attorney and how to fix that? Did he tell her how to fix the power of attorney? I'm not getting answers. No, he did not. Exactly right, Fred. He did not tell her. So at least he did that right. So he does have her on the hook to say, yeah, I should get this updated. But if you notice, I'm getting the feeling that who was she going to update it with? From the tone of her voice and the conversation, does it sound like she wants to get it updated by him? It doesn't to me. And again, that's just interpretation. I'd agree, Bill. I think I'm not getting any feelings whatsoever that she thinks she should get them updated by him. And that's because he went too fast. He asked a total of probably 7 questions to get all the way to the end. If I got to 21 questions halfway through the presentation. If I would have kept going, I would have got up to 42. So he asked 7 questions to my 42. Now, you guys are probably not going to do 42, but should you be closer to the 42 or should you be closer to the 7? You need to be closer to the 42.
I'm making note of that. Well, I already made a note of it. So, because honestly, what's put together so far here is good. There's just a few parts missing, and I can help you take care of that. That's not a problem at all. In fact, I'm going to go over something else in a minute. This is the financial power of attorney. There's another piece.
There's a health.
There's the healthcare. Healthcare power of attorney.
So at this point, does it kind of feel to the client like, oh, yeah, that'd be a good idea to get that updated? Or does it feel like the client's thinking, oh, my gosh, I need to get this fixed right now? This is a problem. So does it feel more like the client's thinking, this would be a good thing to take care of. Yeah, I think we should get that updated. So what am I getting? Good, wrong, why, tell them. That's a good idea. Yeah, they're thinking, yeah, that's a good idea. But I don't feel any like, holy cow. What do you want to hear from this person? What do you want to hear at these topics in order for you to know that you nailed it? Yes, why, how, when, exactly, Casey. If she's saying, really, what's wrong? How do I get that fixed? What do I have to change? Then do I know that I did it right. Yeah, see, if she's saying, well, what's wrong? How do I fix that? When can we get it fixed? Are you going to do that for me? Then do I know I did it right? But if he says, so do you see why we should get this updated? She goes, uh-huh. Then what do we got? Nothing. You want that person saying, how do I get this fixed? How do I get this fixed? I need to get this fixed now. If they don't say that, what do you know about how well you're covering the things? You're covering them on an outline form. You're doing the Cliff Notes. Do not do the Cliff Notes. The Cliff Notes are worthless because as things are going right now, he could get it to the very end and she would think, what? God, this was really helpful. Thanks for doing this. And then she'd do what? Leave. Take it back to her guy. Because all he's doing right now is showing that there's lots of what? Mistakes. And what's the problem with just showing that there's mistakes? Mistakes can be what? Fixed. So do you understand why you have to take baby steps? And by that I mean you have to ask lots of little questions to get to the final big question. Then they have to summarize the point, not you have to summarize the point. Your stories, when you want to make a point, have to be in Technicolor, which means they have to have lots of details in them. Because he's gone through the power of attorney, but on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you grade this guy on getting what he needs? I'd grade him on about an 8. Well, you know what? I would grade him closer to a 5 or a 6 that he got what he needs, but I would agree that on execution, I'd grade him closer to a 3 or a 4. But he's still moving along, but he does end up getting this client in the end. But it wasn't because of his skill. It was because this lady was sharp as a tack, and he was pointing out all the things that her advisor did, and because she was so smart, and because she, again, what kind of personality did we say she was, guys? Friendly and happy, or very business, type A, very much type A. So she was the kind of client that when he pointed out all the things that were wrong and went through the whole checklist at the second meeting, the disclosure meeting, she got angry at her guy and left. But that is not typical. He lucked out. Because with her, all he needed to do was go through all the details. She connected all the dots in her own mind that my guy is screwing me. But this advisor never got to the point of having her real. So what worked for this lady, hey, sometimes it works for you. But is that what I'm shooting for? Sometimes it works, or do I want it to work all the time? I want it to work all the time. And the way it's going to work all the time is to do it in baby steps. Do the stories in Technicolor. Make sure the client is giving you the summary, you not giving the client the summary. Because you know, if you look at it, here's the thing about when with the clients that we get. That's a bell curve, right? You know what? 10% of the clients are always going to work with us. 10% of the clients will never work with us. And then we've got this other 80% in here. And what determines whether that 80%? These people will always work with us. We see that we find them at the right time, at the right place. Whether they've just moved, they hate their advisor just died, he just made a mistake. They will move with us no matter what, as long as we're reasonable. These people will never, ever, ever move to us. So how do we get these other 80%? How do we get that 80%, guys? Our presentation, Bill, you're right. These are the fence sitters. These are the people that if you take baby steps, if you do not argue with them, if you get on their side, if they do the summary of all the points, if they understand that the guy didn't make mistakes, but instead he had motives, you start moving up this curve. And do you see why if you were normally getting 10% of these people, just by getting this many more, this other 10%, now what have you done to your closing ratio? You've doubled it. Oops, I didn't get my X in there. You doubled it. If you just get this amount of people, now you've tripled it. And it's by doing these things, you get people you would otherwise never, ever, ever get by doing little baby steps, having your stories in Technicolor, and making sure the client is doing the summarizing rather than you doing the summarizing for them. Does that make sense? So with this, do you guys want to continue these type of tape reviews a couple times a month? Is this helping you? You're getting lots of yeses. Good. Now, you probably received an email that our monthly small group calls with 5 or 6 people per call with Jeff or myself, the live calls, those, because we were having people that were forgetting the calls because they were only once a month, and sometimes they're on Tuesday, sometimes Thursday, and whatever else, we had people forgetting them. So I made an executive decision here that going forward, starting next month, you're not going to have those small group calls anymore. We're just going to have an open mic call on Fridays twice a month. Most often it'll be the first and last Fridays of the month. Sometimes it won't be. It won't be here this upcoming month in February because there's a different, because it's a shorter month and we've got a couple of things planned that we didn't know were going to be in there. So, but on those calls, you're going to have to call on a physical phone line because it's going to be just like the small group calls we were doing. It's not about me presenting for an hour like I do on Monday calls. It's about us role-playing, listening to tapes, having me ask you and Jeff ask you to role-play back. What would you have said? So it's an interactive back-and-forth conversation, not me talking for an hour. So you will actually have to physically call in on the phone for that one, but we will have we'll do tape reviews with those calls, and we'll be going back and forth asking you how would you have done that differently. But I want you to be on a phone so we can actually talk and you get something out of it. So it's more like a mentoring session than me talking for an hour. Okay. So you should look at, and Missy, that will be posted at the they'll get reminders, obviously email reminders, but that will also be posted on the front of the site. Is that correct?
That is correct. So as soon
I
as
didn't
you
hear you.
log in, can you hear me now?
Oh,
Like
again,
I'm
yep.
on a Verizon commercial. As soon as you log in, you will see it on the intro page that you come into underneath the important news. So that's got the exact schedule for the month, and as Mike said, it's the first and actually the third Friday this month, but normally it would be the first and the last.
So now you'll have 2 Fridays a month that we can actually do that not one-on-one, but a small group mentoring for all the guys that want to take advantage of that. But I will ask you this. Only get on those calls if you're serious, because I don't want you to be multitasking on that call, because they are going to be live calls with everybody on the phone. So if you're going to be talking to your secretary or crumpling paper or whatever, you're going to interrupt the call for everybody. So only get on that call if you're serious about mentoring. It's not required. This is a voluntary thing that you can be on it, don't be on it, but only be on that call if you're serious so you're not wasting everybody else's time. But for those of you that like to do that kind of thing, are looking to get better, now you're going to have an opportunity of doing it twice a month instead of just once a month at your normal call. So wanted to make sure that you understood why we were doing that. So any questions on that before we let you go here?
And again, we will be sending out an email reminder the day before that open mentoring, so it will come directly to your email box with the link that you can click on for that call as well.
Super. Thanks, everybody, for being on the call today. It looks like we have no questions. So I wish you a very successful next week, and then we will talk to you here next Monday, and some of you actually on Friday. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.